Hello and welcome to the latest installment of the Atticus Advantage webinar series, the Solo Practice Profit Scorecard, presented by Mark Powers, Atticus President and Practice Advisor. So before we begin, a little bit about Atticus. Atticus was founded in 1989 to provide in-depth, ongoing support and accountability programs for lawyers and law firms that effectively increase gross revenues and personal incomes, reduce stress and the number of hours in the office, develop greater career satisfaction, and allow more time for family and personal interests. So our programs, workshops, and webinars are all designed to streamline the management of your practice, increase revenue, reduce stress, and balance your professional and personal life. A brief overview of our coaching services and products. We have monthly webinars, of which, of course, this series is one. Some one-day and half-day workshops that are live or in-person, quarterly in-person group programs, one-on-one coaching, and then, of course, our legal library, of which we've got a book focusing on marketing, one for time management, one for staffing, and one that's upcoming, focusing on profitability and cash flow. So with that all having been said, let's cover your options to ask questions. Near the end of this webinar, you'll have the opportunity to do this, and I strongly encourage you to do so because it's a great opportunity to get deeper insight from Mark. So you can either use the chat function on your GoToWebinar dashboard to send a message to me. Just type it out, and if you'd like your question to remain anonymous, simply indicate so, and I'll state your question for Mark. Your other option is to click the hand icon to indicate you have a question or comment, and I'll call on you. At that point, I'll unmute you so that you can ask your question to Mark yourself. So a little bit now about our presenter, Mark Powers. Actually, even before that, one of the forms that you're going to notice, and that is available to you for download either as a PDF file or an Excel sheet, is the Solo Practice Profit Scorecard itself. It wasn't just the title of the webinar, it's an actual form that you really are going to want to walk through as you go through this. So download this now if you haven't already, and have it available to you to make notes on and to fill out as we walk through this. And if you have any trouble acquiring this document, email grow@atticusadvantage.com and we'll send you or email you a copy of one. So hopefully everyone has the ability to get that and has that available. And now a little bit about Mark before we get right into this. Mark's been president of Atticus for nearly 30 years and has been coaching attorneys on key practice management skills for that same amount of time, including strategic planning, marketing, time management, profitability, and staffing. His passion is helping attorneys to focus on what is really important in their lives, providing training and skills necessary to build and maintain sustainable practices and to help create a structure of accountability. As the founder, he's developed the first personalized training program that is dedicated to educating law firm owners. And as you can see there, the legal or the book library, he's helped to co-author Time Management for Attorneys, How Good Attorneys Become Great Rainmakers, and Hire Slow, Fire Fast. So enough from me. Allow me to introduce Mark now. Mark, welcome.
Thanks, Jeff. And welcome everyone. If you're having any difficulty at all in either hearing or seeing or downloading, either email that address that Jeff showed you or go to the chat function on your GoToWebinar. So we want to make sure that you have everything you need. And so we're here to talk about your practice. And I will tell you, and you can write this number down, 80%. Write that down, 80%. 80% of all small firms are stuck and not growing. So all 80% of all your competitors are stuck and they're not growing. And by stuck, I mean their revenue isn't growing significantly. Shareholders are working way too many hours, not getting the time they need. They're probably exhausted, overworked, burning out a little bit, and they're not taking home the money that they should. And there are a number of reasons for this, right? It could be inconsistent marketing. It could be poor client selection. We're not doing a great job with selecting the clients. It could be staff frustrations. We've got people on the team that we probably shouldn't have on the team any longer, or we're having trouble finding, hiring, and retaining the really great people. Sometimes it's your time management skills that is keeping you stuck or not establishing boundaries. But often one of the things that we find at Atticus is that it's the way we're thinking about the practice that keeps us stuck. Now that might sound strange, but we consider it a mindset, the way you think, like a paradigm, the way you think about your practice. And there's a very different way when we're just starting out your practice and we're trying to build it to the point where we get our groove. And the difference is, if you've ever, the simplest way to say it is the way that Michael Gerber said it in the E-Myth. A lot of attorneys in their mindset are working in the practice, doing it. And really what we've got to do is get to the mindset where we're working on the practice. So today we're going to be working on the practice, and we're going to be talking about diagnosing it. So Jeff said, download this scorecard. It's very important. I highly recommend it. No, I'd say if we're on this call, I'm going to spend 80% of my time walking you through this. So it'd be really good to have this and to score yourself along the way. What I'll say about this diagnostic, I'll walk you through how to do it in a moment, but this is a guided process. I'm going to guide you through a self-scoring diagnostic, if you will. You're going to score yourself, and being straight to yourself, no one's going to look at this but yourself, but it's critical that you're straight with yourself about the answers, and I'll talk more about that in a minute. But it's a very valuable process. It's going to give you some perspective where you are in the marketplace compared to others. But I will say, so keep a pen and paper handy, because I'm going to ask you to write down a number of things, and write this down. Practice growth diagnostic. Practice growth diagnostic. So while this is self-guided, as a matter of fact, I think I have a slide for it. Practice growth diagnostic. So I highly recommend that every attorney do a practice growth diagnostic. It's where what we're doing today is self-guided. Excuse me, it's guided by me, but it's self-scored. The diagnostic process, practice growth diagnostic, is going to include a full assessment of your practice. It's going to include a behavioral profile. It's going to include an analysis from an advisor. And then it's going to give you direction on the 3 most impactful things that you could do. So it's a much more objective, much more powerful. Unfortunately, it's not free. Like this particular thing we're doing today is free. To do a practice diagnostic, the practice growth diagnostic, it's $275, I believe, or $295. But it does include a disc. It's totally worth it. And I would recommend every single person do it. And to do it, I would email that growth@atticusadvantage.com and tell them, let me do a diagnostic. Again, it's not free, but it's incredible and it's worth your time. So our goals today are to do a scorecard on your practice. And what this is going to do is create a framework and a mindset I talked about working on the practice and how to think about working on it. And as I introduce you to this process, you're going to compare where you are in your current performance against best practices. So we've done this for 30 years. We've grown firms for 30 years. And we know what works and what doesn't work, and we see the levels of progress. And so you're going to be able to see where you are in that process. And what we're going to score today, we're going to score profitability and cash flow. Again, no one's looking at this but you. Time management, building a great team around you. I didn't say a good team. I said a great team. Your practice is going to be stunted. It is not going to grow unless we build a very strong team around you. You're not going to be able to free up your time. You're not going to be able to delegate effectively unless you build a championship team. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about where you are with your processes, your workflow, how we're marketing to new prospects, and what we're doing with that information when we get it, the marketing and conversion process. And then finally, we'll score you on mindset. So I'm going to score all of these things. Now, I'm going to give you, if it's okay, I'm going to share a little context. I want to do one slide that gives us context before we do the scorecard. So when we're thinking about growing a solo and small firm, we need to get the foundation right. And the obvious foundation is we've got to have legal skills. It's the ticket. It's your key. It's the entrance to the business. You've got to have good legal skills to start the process and enter and have a law firm. From there, by the way, the vast majority of your competitors get stuck right here. I know that sounds odd. They believe if I do another CLE, if I get one more specialty, and I work a little harder, it's all going to work out. And it's not. So with this as a base foundation, we have to build the next components. And you can write these down. It's time management, client development and marketing, which includes client selection, which is critical. We need to have the process for finding, retaining great talent, and also being able to weed people off the team over time. That's important. And then cash flow and profitability. So this is your next level of development. It's legal skills. And if I'm going to build a practice, I've got to work on and build these skills as well. And if I do that, and by the way, I like to think this is a platform. A lot of reasons law firms, especially solos and small firms, have some growth and then dip back down, have some growth and dip back down. So you can imagine this cycle going across up and down, is because they do okay in marketing for a while, but then they get so much business, they stop marketing and they have to focus on production. And then when the production starts to run out, they market like crazy. So if you get these systems in place, you get a platform, and from there you get increases in revenue, your personal income, control over the practice, freedom, and it allows you to impact the community and the work you want to do a lot more. So we like to think about this as a good foundation to think about, and a lot of things we're doing on the scorecard are up in here. We're not testing your legal skills. We know and assume that you're doing great there. This is the area that most people fail or break down. So let's go ahead and do some thinking. You should have that scorecard out and available to you, or on another screen where you can fill it out. And we're going to do a tiny little math, not a lot of math where you need a calculator or anything. So I'm going to walk you through this. So here's the scorecard. And let's talk about how it works before you do anything. So we've got criteria here, and it's going to go down to 3 or 4 more places when we go to the next page. The various profitability, time management, great team, process, and cash flow. And so going across, we've got descriptions of where you might be in your practice. So let's say you're in this area here, in the light gray area. So you don't know exactly where you are. You're either on the low end, the middle, or the high end. So you're somewhere between a 1 and a 3. You're a 1, 2, or 3 here. And so as we go to the next area, maybe you're out here, but you're going to give yourself a score somewhere on the high end, the low end, or the high end of this description. So as I'm going to walk you through this, and I don't want you to write anything yet until I tell you to write. Let me walk you through the descriptions, and we'll go through cash flow and profitability, then time management. Now, I only need you to score under current. You could ignore prior and change. Those are for our regular coaching clients. They look at where their baseline and what they did the last time and what changes they made. So they're always trying to up their scores on the scorecard. The only other thing I'll say about this as we get going is all progress on your firm or all of our personal growth, anything we're doing, all progress begins when you tell the truth about where you are. So you don't want to, if you're going to go through this and you're going to try to up your score because it makes you feel good or you don't want to look bad, that would be a mistake. You want to be critical. This is the time to use your critical thinking skills because knowing where you are and telling the truth about where you are will be the freedom and the best place for you to start and recognize what I have to work on. So no one's looking at this besides you right now, so tell the truth and then we'll see what where it all lands. So let's start. And we'll start with profitability and cash flow. If anywhere I say something that doesn't make sense to you, make sure you text or chat with Jeff so he can capture that. And either he'll catch me or we'll come back and address it after I go through it. And there'll be time for questions at the end. So profitability and cash flow. So the first grouping says, if you may be here, I constantly feel stressed about cash flow and don't think I'm paid enough for the work I do. And so if that sort of represents you, give yourself, that's one of the places you'll start to think about. I'm somewhere 1 to 3 in there. The next level is, I make a good living and I am not stressed about cash flow. Things are working. So I've got cash flow working. I'm not stressed about it. The next category is, I pay myself a great base compensation. So I take a great salary. In addition to that, I make a 35% profit margin as a shareholder. So let me talk about this one for a minute so you're clear. In your practice, you definitely want to get compensated for the work you're doing, whether it's production or management work or whatever you're doing. There should be a salary. And that salary often represents what it would take to reasonably replace you in the marketplace. If I had to replace you, that's a salary that I would have to go out and hire someone at to do that. And that might be substantive work, it might be managerial work, or a combination. Above and beyond that, that's included in my expenses. Above and beyond that salary, I'm getting a 35% profit margin as a shareholder. So for every dollar the firm brings in, 35 cents is coming out to distributions to me as a shareholder. And so that's a very strong place to be. It means that the practice is doing what it's supposed to do and paying our shareholders for the work they do, for the risks they've taken, and for the work they do in keeping the firm growing. So you may be somewhere from a 7, 8, or 9 there. And then the final one is, more than 50% of my income is delivered from profit centers, other people in the firm, and not from my personal production. So what this means is, yes, I am taking a distribution, and yes, I am doing less production, substantive production. My teams are doing that, and my teams are generating revenue and profit. And I am getting at least 50% of the money I take home is from distributions. So again, the model says that for your firm to grow is we have to, what I call, kill off those heroic roles you're doing, some of the substantive roles, even though you're good at it. And we've got to get talented, competent people to do some of that. And those competent, talented people generate profit for you. They free you up to work on your highest and best uses in the firm, and you get compensated for those highest and best uses, usually through distribution. So you're somewhere between a 1 and a 12. Under the current column, give yourself a score. And so on the sample, we'll put a score in, and this person put in a 3. So when they look at it, they're still stressed about cash flow, and they don't think they're paid enough for the work they do. And but they're not really deeply stressed at the lowest level. They're at a 3. Okay, got that score? Let's go on to the next one, time management. So I'll read the columns. Hold off on your score until you hear it all. I know some of you are ahead of me, but stay with me because there's some nuances that I might be able to shed some light on. I get in early, but I stay late. I get in early and I stay late. I work most weekends. And by the way, working weekends doesn't necessarily mean I'm in the office. I could be at home working. I could be on my computer doing emails, getting back to Teams, working on a deposition. I could be doing a lot of things at home, and that's still working. I am on my phone or checking my email while I'm out of the office. So even when I consider myself not working, and I might be a day off, I might be with the kids, I'm still checking emails and I'm still checking my phone to see what's happening and stay on top of it. So if I'm there, I'm going to be between a 1 and a 3. The next level, I work a lot, but I take at least 1 2-week vacation annually. And when I am off, I seldom check email, phone messages, and only deal with emergency issues. So I've got much better control. I'm probably not working weekends. I've got my 2-week vacations that I'm taking consecutively, not separately, consecutively. And I'm pretty much present with my families, my hobbies, my passions, my interests, and I'm not dealing with a lot of emails or phone messages. Somewhere between a 4 and a 6 there. The next category, I don't work weekends. I have a 4-day work week. So I not only don't work weekends, but most weeks I can have a 4-day week. I take Fridays off or I take Mondays off. I have a 4-day week and I average 4 weeks off a year. Now, some of that's consecutive, some of that's separated. And while I am off, I do not check email or phone messages. Now this one is the next category is very high level, but many Atticus clients do this. If you've seen this, I don't want it to spook you, but this is doable and there's a reason that you would do it. And so I can take 175 days off and the firm works just fine, if not better, as opposed to when I'm here. And when I am off, I don't check emails, do client work, or take phone calls. This is very important. We're trying to reduce the dependency the firm has on you over time. And at this level, somewhere between 10 and 12, I'm really mastering this. It's really working. I'm working the firm's not working me. So go ahead under time management and give yourself a score. This person gave a 5. No, there's no real relevance to that. It's just an example score put in there. Okay, we're going to move to great team. And I said earlier, the firm is going to be stunted. It's not going to grow unless I have a great team around me. So the first category, the first grouping is I avoid hiring and training and managing people because nobody can trust to do the work and handle the firm's clients as well as I do it. Nobody can do it like I do it. And I can't find anyone good to hire. So you may be there, like, listen, I've tried this, I've worked on hiring people, I've worked on managing, and what I've come to the realization that no one's going to do it as good as me, and I'm just going to have to sort of suffer through that. Next category, I am constantly frustrated. I think I have adopted my team. I mean, I didn't hire a team, I've adopted them. I feel like I'm often cleaning up after their messes and I'm frustrated by their constant interruptions, probably a little bit of drama in the office, some level of turnover. But that's a joke we have inside of Atticus. Most law firms don't hire people, they adopt them. They come in the office, we get to know them a little bit, we get to know their families, then their personal issues, and when they're not performing and they're not supporting or adding value to the client or the firm, we have a tough time letting them go because we've adopted them. So you may be in that category and give yourself somewhere in there 4 to 6. The next level, my team understands where we're going. They understand the mission. They understand the vision of where we're taking the firm. We have weekly accountability meetings about what we're working on and what we're going to work on. My team takes delegation well, and they handle the basic customer service issues. They understand our workflow. So they understand the process, they know how to do it, they understand client service. We have accountability meetings, we work well. The next level, my team is self-managing. They are clear on their revenue targets. They have expectations. They understand what's crucial to their performance, and they constantly receive compliments, acknowledgments in the right direction. So I really have that great team. They have the character that we want. They know how to produce value for the firm. I'm really a catalyst for their development. They can often manage themselves. So give yourself a score somewhere between 1 and 12. Okay, we're going to go to the next category, process and workflow. So how we move the files through the pipeline and how we manage our firm. So the first category, I don't have any systems or checklists or processes to handle workflow and customer service. We either don't have, or we have it and we don't use a procedure manual. So we have really what we would call a bunch of customs. People know what they are supposed to do, but it's passed down from one person to the next. And God forbid one of those people leave, because what leaves with them is the customs. And we don't have a system, we have a custom, and it leaves with people instead of a system that operates, that everyone follows when they're in the firm. Next category, we have some documented checklist, and we flow chart the work process. They know what it is, and it's in a central location that people know how to see it and how it works. Occasionally, I have to remind my team where they are in the process and when to use the process and when to use the workflow process. The next category, our workflows, and think workflow as a flow chart of a process, like the file might be moving through your pipeline or through your office. Our workflows and systems are great. My team uses them. They look for ways to improve them. And if they've got any questions, instead of interrupting me, they always go there first. So if there's a problem and they're not sure what to do next, instead of coming to interrupt me, they go to the workflow, the checklist, the process, and they, oh, okay, that's what I'm supposed to do. That they do that first. The next category for process and workflows, we have a visual workflow process. When a new hire joins the firm, we begin their training there. If there's a system or a process breakdown, is brought up immediately, and the team works to improve the process. So they own the process, they understand it. It's easy to orient a new member to the team because they can see how the process works. They might shadow someone, but at least they can identify it and they can go to the procedure manual. So give yourself a score here. And I'm going to take you to the next slide, which is marketing to new prospects. So we've got to go out, and if we want new business, we're going to have to market. And so in the first category, I have no time to market. If I did, I wouldn't do it anyways. I'd rather just practice law. So I don't like to market. I don't have the time to do the marketing. I'm getting business as it is, so I'm just not something I want to spend a lot of time on. And you would give yourself a score if you relate more to that statement than the next. I have marketing opportunities. They come to me. I am happy to reactively take on marketing opportunities, but I don't proactively seek or grow my marketing opportunities. So listen, I'm doing okay. I get referrals. I'm invited to speak here and there. It's all very good, but it's more reactive. I am not going out there creating speaking opportunities. I don't target my referral sources. I don't create top of mind awareness. I don't spend a lot of time with my marketing efforts. The next one says, you know, I'm doing better than average. I know what to say. When I market, I know what I'm supposed to say. I know when I'm supposed to say it, and I know how to say it. So I've got scripts, and I've learned the scripts. They're mine, but I know how to move people and generate referrals or generate new clients. However, I know that there are some areas in my marketing that I could use improvement on. So I've got the basics. I'm pretty good at it. I stay out there doing the marketing, but I know that I could do better. And then the next level is I have a strategic marketing approach. I receive a consistent amount of high caliber new business, knocking at the door, calling in. My competitors are jealous and annoyed with my dominance in the market. So people, when someone's referred to me, I get a referral from 3 different people. That person comes in and said, 3 people referred you to me. That's a market dominance. They have time to strategically think about not only their referral marketing, they can think about their events marketing, they can think about their online marketing. They've got some strategic time and they're working on it. And it's delivering because I've got people knocking on the door, which allows me to start to be a little bit more selective with the clients I let in the door. So you give yourself a score for marketing to new prospects. Next category, marketing and prospect conversion. So I'm marketing to people, but how do I do on the process of bringing them into the firm? So I do all marketing's initial meetings. I manage all marketing projects. All marketing depends on me. And my marketing depends on my cash flow. When I don't have any money and I don't have any time, I don't market. The next level, my marketing efforts, including my website, I'm in the right direction, but they don't bring me the right clients or enough clients. I have lots of questions about my website marketing, my internet marketing. I know what to do and I'm failing to do it, or I'm too busy to do it. Overall, I'm not getting a good return on my marketing efforts. So this one, I'm okay, I'm getting it, I'm a little bit below average, but I really have just got to up the game a little bit. The next category, we have marketing and prospect to client conversion process. So we detailed what happens when our client or prospect comes in contact to us. What's the next step, the next step, the next step to convert them. We also know who our ideal client is, who our ideal referral source is, and we know the referral sources by name. And our pricing is excellent. We have 3 marketing contacts every single week, and we have an annual marketing event on our calendar that we do, or we have an annual event that we do every year. So we're really ahead of the game there. We're well above average, and you're somewhere 7, 8, 9 there. In the next category, the next level, we are a marketing and conversion machine. We can influence an uptick in new business whenever we want. We can increase the demand, which allows us to grow the practice or contain the practice where we want. Our conversion process is amazing. At least 80% of our initials are done by non-lawyers. So that's going to be a shocker to some of you and say, well, that's impossible. That can't be done. So we have a number of clients that have grown their practice by using non-lawyers to do the initial consult. And that might be a step too far for many of you to go, but that's a mastery level. And you probably have more questions about that. Usually we have lots of questions about the things that have worked on other firms for years and years and years. So give yourself a score there, whatever your score is. The next category, and this is the final one on your scorecard before we start working with your scorecard. It's mindset, how I think about the practice. So the first level is, I'm a great lawyer. And the truth is, that's all I want to do. I didn't come into the law to be a marketing expert or an HR expert or how to figure out collections. I just want to be a great lawyer. I don't have a mind for the business. I don't believe the better legal technician you are, the more money you make. Oh, excuse me, I rephrased that. I believe the better I am at my substantive work, the more money I make. So you may be in that grouping and make sure you figure out a score in there. Or the next level. I know it's a business, but I don't know how to grow the business. I'm being like the hero of the story, and I don't know how to get out of the trap. So what we're saying there is, I know it's a business, but everything is still dependent on me. Every problem, every opportunity has to come through me. I just don't know how to break out of that. I don't know how to reduce the people's dependency on me. And the next category, I focus daily on my marketing, time management, profitability, and staffing skills. I'm successful by anyone's standard, but the firm is still dependent on me. So if you looked around, this person's got time off. They're not working weekends. They're taking in they're making very good money. Anyone looking at them would say, wow, this person's doing great. But what they know is that while they're making more money and they have more free time, most of their work is still substantive, and the firm's most of the revenue is dependent on them. And so they're doing very good, but they've got to reduce that dependency. Or the next level, which is 10 to 12. I focus every day on building a marketing dominant, let me rephrase that, I'm sorry. I focus every day on building a market dominant firm that does not depend on me. I am focused on building great team, a great marketing machine, and strong profits that are produced without me doing it. I've become a catalyst. I consider myself post-heroic in the model. And I've got a succession process. At this level, you will find that you have more freedom, more fun than you ever imagined. But your mindset has to think differently to get there. So give yourself a score on mindset, where you might fit in here. So you've got a little bit to digest there, and we're going to talk about what these ratings might mean. So you've got different ratings going through here. You could add them up and then average them, or you look for each one, but I like looking at each category and how you think about it. So if I'm a 1 to 3 in a category, we can say that there's evidence that I'm struggling, right? With this particular area, whether it's mindset, profitability, staffing, and I'm not getting the results I want. As a matter of fact, they're poor results right now, and I've got no plan to improve. So 1 to 3 probably in this area. 4 to 6. I'm not failing per se, but I'm certainly frustrated with the firm's performance. It's really taking up a lot of my time. I'm still working a lot of weekends. And I need help implementing these foundational growth elements, or it's going to be stuck here a long time. So you could be in a 4 to 6 on an issue, or 7 to 9. Listen, overall, we're doing very well in managing this issue. However, I know that there's room to get better, and I want to have a competitive advantage, so I'm going to continue to improve. And I'm ready to go from good to great. I'm doing good, but I want to launch to the next level of improvement. And then the last level is 10 to 12. And here, you pretty much mastered this issue, this particular issue. It could be high on one and low on another, but you're ready for a bigger game. Your confidence is high because of past results, and you're in the realm of best practice. But you still, again, this might be a place that I want to take it to another level yet. I'm a big fan of we never stop improving. We never stop growing. For me, it's grow or die. We've got to keep growing. So those are the various levels, what they could mean to you. And how do we deal with this? You've done the math. I see I need to improvement, but what's next? So the first exercise was doing the scorecard. So what I want you to do is look at the scorecard. This is for you, the players at home. I want you to look at your lowest score. What was it? What was your lowest score? And why do you think it was low? What do you think is causing it to be a low score? Why? Write that down. I'm going to ask you to write these down because it's a very important part. And as you go through the exercise, I'm going to take you to the next level. So what was your lowest score? Next, what was your highest score? And what are you doing well that's working? Why is it your highest score? What's significant? What's working behind it? What are you doing that's working so well? Or what have you done that made that particular score so high? If you got it, make sure you've written both of these down. If we're on this call, we want to get value. So the value is in actually doing the exercise. Write it down. No one's seeing it but you. So what's next? And for me, the key to taking with this information is the level of accountability. We don't want to be in the think about it process or the think about it game. And what we mean about the think about it is, you see these two characters talking. I didn't fail. I just never got around to trying. So they go to webinars like this and they get a great piece of information and they only have to implement one thing, but they go back and just think about it and they don't do anything. And it's useless. And so anything that we do in the Atticus world, for those of you that are Atticus clients, you know this, that one of the things we do is accountability and execution is key. If we don't have accountability, often we don't execute. So I'm going to give you some accountability for what you're doing here. So the first thing is, of all of the scores and everything you did on the scorecard, what's the most important action you're going to take, not need to take, you're going to take to improve your score? Like, what's one thing that you could do to improve your score? What's the most important, or what's one thing? Make sure you write it down. And this is an important part because we need to have something, a deadline to compel us by when you'll complete that one thing. So what's the one thing, the most important thing, or the one thing you're going to do to improve one of your scores, not all of it, just one, and write it down, and by when you'll complete it. So here's where the accountability comes in. And I'm going to do this for you because this is what works, and I want you to get an experience of getting results. So here's what you're going to do with that one thing. I want you to email that action, and by when you're going to do it, to grow@atticusadvantage.com by May 3rd, which is Friday. So you could do it right now, but email what's the one thing you're going to do, by when you're going to do it, and email it to atticusadvantage.com. Now, here's the thing. Two things about this. I am going to on the call with us is Brandon and Larry. And if they don't see it showing up here, they're going to check with you and say, okay, I know that you may not have agreed to do it, but Mark put it on there if we wanted to get value that you're going to do it. And second, they're going to call you and see how you're doing with this action. And I want you to get that. And it's a gift I'm doing for you because you've got to get the experience of having some commitment, or adjusting our mindset. Those are not easy things to do, and they're not in our wheelhouse. So we need some accountability. So email your action to grow@atticusadvantage, and you're going to get a call from Larry or Brandon, and they're going to check in on you and see how you're doing. That is an experience of accountability. So I'm going to take a couple of other suggestions. So expect the call from them to check in. So that's going to be the major part. Some of you go through this and you're looking at that scorecard and say, oh my God, oh my God, I really need to get some deeper in. I need someone to take a look at what I'm doing, and I got to get some guidance. So I mentioned this earlier. The best action you can take is to do a practice growth diagnostic. So I'm going to mention it again because I absolutely think it's the best thing you can do, and I'll give you a little special little prize with this as well. So I said what's going to happen in the diagnostic is you're going to spend about an hour with the advisor. They're going to look at your behavioral profile. Your behavioral profile impacts everything in the firm. It impacts how you execute. It impacts how you communicate with your team. And by the way, Atticus is the largest provider of behavioral profiles in the legal industry. Nobody does more than us. So this alone is worth its weight in gold. And then they're going to analyze where you are, and they're going to give you some direction on the most important, impactful things you could do. And if you are interested or if you qualify, they'll let you know what might be a fit for you at Atticus if you're so inclined. So I think I told you the investment on that is $295. Includes all the things we've talked about, and how you get the diagnostic is if you go to the atticusadvantage.com website. There's you'll see a healthier practice starts with an accurate diagnostic. You can just get started there and sign up for it. Or the other thing is you can email grow@atticusadvantage.com and say, I want the diagnostic. Call me, email me, get me set up for the diagnostic. Every single attorney will get, any attorney that does this will get extraordinary value, and they'll get some clear direction and know where they sit objectively rather than do so much, personal stuff. So here's the offer. Jeff said I co-authored 3 books, Time Management for Attorneys, How Good Attorneys Become Great Rainmakers, Hire Slow, Fire Fast. For those of you that want to do a diagnostic and you're committed to it, the practice growth, if you sign up today, if you register for it today, they're going to send you a free copy of the Time Management for Attorneys book. And so that book is on the website and on all of the sites where you buy books. It's $79.95. So that book alone is worth it. So I would do it, but you're signing up today for it, and they'll take care of you and they'll send you a book. So I'd recommend that. Also, I will also do this while we're here, and I've got your attention. I'll just tell you one other thing. We do a number of one-day workshops around the country, and one that's I think is phenomenal is called the Double Your Revenue Workshop. There's not a person or attorney that goes through that doesn't come away with an absolute clear belief and knowledge how to double their revenue. Really very powerful. So there's one in Denver on May 31st that's being led by Steve Riley, who's phenomenal at this, and another in Columbus, Ohio on June 28th. There's another one that Steve is leading while he is in Denver. It's how to build a profitable team, and that's May 30th. So if you're interested in any of those, just email grow@atticusadvantage.com. So Jeff, I've done a lot, we've said a lot, and I'm going to stop and handle any questions. If there are any questions, I'll address those. And while Jeff is looking to see if there's any questions, I just want to thank you all. I hope this is a valuable conversation for you. Jeff?
Yes, thanks, Mark. So currently we don't have any questions in the queue. And just to remind the attendees who are still with us, you've got 2 options. You can either use the chat function to type a question into me. And if you wish to remain anonymous, simply indicate so in your chat, or you can raise your hand and I can unmute you and you can ask your question of Mark yourself.
And Jeff, if there aren't a lot of questions on this right now and people have a question for you, question for me, how would they do that after the webinar?
Absolutely. So there's the email address, grow@atticusadvantage.com. They send an email to that address. That's also another option for correspondence to get their question answered.
Okay, good. Jeff, and if there are not any questions, I'll give anyone a minute to see if there's a question. And while you're doing that, just so you know, you are going to hear from Larry or Brandon and your progress on the one thing you can do to improve your score out of the scorecard today. So you guys did some great work. This isn't easy to go through. It's very fast to talk about a lot of things, and sometimes it's confronting on where you are with your practice. But I appreciate your time. I appreciate your honesty to yourself in going through this process. And Jeff, with that, I'm all set to complete unless you have anything else.
Well, there have been a few questions that have popped up. One of them, Jonathan White asks, could you explain how Atticus holds its clients accountable?
So how do we hold attorneys accountable? There's a number of ways. So we have a group program, for example, and that's called the Practice Growth Program. And what happens in that program is we're working on the fundamentals of time management, marketing, staffing, and cash flow. And we're getting on top of that, and we're getting focused, and we're triaging and eliminating tolerations, and we're moving in the right direction. But what happens is that group meets for a day and a half in small groups with a really talented facilitator. And they leave that session with a 90-day game plan. We call it a 90-day focus. Now, every month we're having a check-in call and we're reviewing that with them. And what are they moving forward? What are they not moving forward? Where do they need help? Atticus has developed all of the systems and processes that it takes to run the management. Use that. But we're doing a check-in every month. They come back at the next quarter and we look at their 90-day focus. And it's pretty amazing how much you get done before you have to have that call, or you have to come back to the team and talk about what you accomplished and didn't accomplish. So we do that quarter to quarter to quarter in a group program. In other programs, like you may work with a coach, a practice advisor, one-on-one. And they have calls usually every other week. On every call, they're triaging the issues, like it might be compensation, might be staffing, but we're setting up a game plan at the end of every call. Now, we're also operating inside of the context that we strategically know where we're going by then. We know what you want in your life. We know what you want in your practice. We're moving towards that. So we have weekly and bi-monthly accountability. But at the end of the day, in everything Atticus does, it's such a great question. At the end of the day, if there isn't someone checking or supporting and looking at what you're doing, we're likely to fall into inertia, especially on skills that we're not comfortable developing, like marketing or some of the time management or staffing issues. So it's built into the process at every step, along with guidance, direction, and resources. So I hope that answers the question.
Thanks, Mark. Wendy Samuelson had her hand raised and also chatted her question. Thank you for being patient, Wendy. She asks, what do you consider a profitable firm? Should you be earning 35% of gross revenue?
Great question. So it's like going to a doctor and looking at your biometrics, whether it's your blood pressure, heart rate, weight, waist size, all of those things. You're looking at, where we are in a healthy range. And so every firm needs to build a profit because it's a return on investment to the shareholders that are risking their time, their money, and also the lost income and the lost time they did to get their law license and build this business. So yes, should have a profit. We, from Atticus's perspective, 30 to 35% is a healthy profit margin that you should be taking out of your law firm. Now, that being said, most firms we encounter are usually in the 10%, 15% if they're lucky. So 35% is a healthy place to get to. And some people go absolutely beyond that. So yes.
It looks like we've got one final question that came in from Andy Banks, who asks, we did a diagnostic a year ago. Should we do one again?
I say yes, because things probably have changed. Your DISC profile wouldn't have changed that much. That should be great. You can talk to, if you talk to one of either Brandon or Larry, they can give you a better sense. Someone could just do a refresher. Maybe you don't need to do the whole diagnostic, and you just want to have a consult with them, and you want to talk about where you are, what progress you've made, where you think the lapses happened, where you think you really excelled, and maybe revisit your DISC behavioral profile. Andy, you probably did one the last time, which I don't know. We're not unmuted, but for most people, it's really on target, and it really is very helpful. So you can do one, but you may be okay just doing a consult and getting an update on where you are. Thanks for the question, Andy. And Wendy, I hope I addressed you on the profitability issue. Jeff, anything else?
No further questions.
Okay, so everyone knows, if you don't hesitate to ask questions. Just type the question to grow at atticusadvantageon.com, and they'll get it to me. But again, I don't know how to recommend this highly enough, and maybe Andy would endorse that. It's do a diagnostic. So you really find out where you are. 80% of law firms are struggling and not growing, and it doesn't have to be that way. They do not have to work the hours they're doing. They do deserve to take home a lot more money than they're taking, and they deserve a great team around them. So I highly recommend finding out where you are and what you can specifically do about it, not when like we're on a group call. Jeff, great job. I appreciate your time in doing this, Jeff. Everyone else, thank you. I hope this was a valuable session for you, a valuable use of your time. And I look forward to working with you in the future. Bye, everyone.